the Skunk2 Pro Series Intake Manifold. A rather good upgrade because the stock intake is very convoluted and like it's not good for high RPM use or torque. And now we have a China copy on our hands here, so we cut it open, we try to inspect it and to see how not as good as the original it is or how bad it is, let's be honest. And here, now we can check it. We'll see, we'll try to port it, we'll try to clean it up and to see if we can improve it. Maybe not as good as the original, or maybe we can exceed it. Let's see. Let's see if we can salvage this and make it decent. Let's go. The Skunk2 Pro Series Intake Manifold for the D series. This is a China copy. It's everywhere in eBay, even AliExpress. So it's a lot cheaper, but let me show you when we cut this open, because now it's all cut up. We're going to spray it out. Let me show you how not so good it is. Here it's cut up. We just left a few millimeters. This way it's going to be, right on the spot. So when you crack it open, it'll be all together. We'll see. Let's position this. Here you can see now. Okay, let me clip the phone to the stand. Here, okay, let me remove this. So we actually use the pneumatic saw or an air saw to cut it open. Wait, let's move this. There you go, there you go. Okay, there. Okay. On the left, here's the plenum. It looks pretty good. It's decent, nothing unusual. All right. The casting there is pretty clean, but that's because it's just round. Here's the problem that I see. On the runner entry, there's a sharp corner. On the original one, this is rounded off really nice, kind of like a factory type R. But this one, you can see it's a corner, sharp corner, of course. Doesn't like flow, and of course, let me show you closer. Look at that. So we gotta try to port this, like round it up really good, but I don't think we can actually get as close to or surpass the original Skunk2 intake manifold. So that's a part where that original actually wins. And this is for the IACV, and some will use the D16Y8, but you gotta plug this because it's a hole. It's gonna it's gonna make your idle act up really bad. And of course, because this is China, it's not consistent. I've never seen this. One of the throttle bolt holes, this one here near the runner number 4, it goes through and through. So imagine if you put the Allen bolt there for the throttle, right? It actually might have a vacuum leak or an air leak. Maybe that's why some people just gonna have a hard time making this manifold idle on their engine when there's no other problem, and it's gonna kind of hard to see because once you get the throttle installed, everything looks normal, right? So this is worth noting because some casting like this, because the other two manifolds that I've ported this from China was not like this. Only this one. Here, let me show you this area. On the bottom of the IECV port, there's a bolt hole for the wire and cable bracket or a hose bracket. But the problem with that is it goes through and through. We don't usually use this, but there's a hole, look. It goes through and through. So you gotta plug this, make sure it's all sealed well, like you can use 3-bond to seal it and then tighten the bolt so it's totally sealed. This way, you'd have a perfectly seal and it'll idle pretty decent. Without that bolt, this probably won't idle at all, right? That is why we see some that uses Chinese manifold like this not do well, or it doesn't idle at all. But of course, before you start porting, if you're liking this content, hit the like button. This way, the algorithm will see that there's a lot of activity. It'll spread this to the wider audience. That helps me a lot. Thank you guys for that. And if you haven't, subscribe. This way you're going to be part of the community. Whenever we have a new upload, you'll be notified. You'll see it right away. And we can all discuss it as it shows. All right? Thank you guys. Okay, now let's head to the porting bench. Here we are now. We've rounded off the edges or the corners a bit, but let's continue with the carbide. Okay, now here first, we try to get all the contours and also remove all the bumps and ridges between the casting marks, the divider, on the sides. There's always bumps there, so we make sure it's all good and equal. Yes. We start with the carbide because if you start with the 80 grit, it's gonna take too long. Here we inverted it, we put it on the vise. Here now we're doing the roof, or in this case, because it's upside down, it's the floor. Let me show you. They're starting to look decent actually. But the corners or the flat sections are still there. That's because this one is China. Now let's clean it up. Let me show you. Here it is. All carbide cut, all freshly done with the carbide. As you see, it's still a far way to go, but it's starting to look decent. Yep. All right. There, we just need to get more flare because the original one, even unported, it's still already flared well. The casting is a lot cleaner. So now here in the porting bench, now we go with 80 grit. We try to lubricate this. Okay, that was 80 grit. Yep. All right. Okay, now it's time lapses, so it's gonna get faster, so it doesn't get too boring. There's 80 grit. We make sure it's well lubed with the spray. It's actually because it's summer. It's 50% ethyl alcohol and 50% soapy water. When it's not as hot or it's not as summer, we actually increase the amount of alcohol. But because alcohol evaporates too quick, it actually barely does the job if it has too much alcohol. So right now it's 50-50. Let me show you up close. Ah, there, it's starting to look cleaner and cleaner. You can see the radius of the runners are pretty decent. Okay, let's make another pass. Yes, as you can see, we sprayed with lube again to make sure it's getting the right amount of friction and of course the applied pressure with my hands when I'm porting. That really varies and depends. So this is 80 grit. Some may wonder how we get the finish. It's also because of the lube and of course on how hard I press on it. So that takes time. Okay, let's look at close. Oh yes, starting to look decent, like decent. It needs a bit more flaring to my liking. But yep, we gotta keep working on this. But for now we can clean it up and let me show you up close on the desk. Here you go. Now it's so far from how it was unported or in stock form, right? But it's still not as good or as not as good curve as the original one. And this flat side here, it's hard. We can't really remove that or can taper it too much because under here, let me show you, you can punch a hole under there on the corner. So that's like casting inferiority because the original one, that center section is curved well. Even on this part here, it's hard to smooth this out because you're gonna punch a hole underneath. Again, the original one is all smoother. So yes, essentially you're getting what you're paying for. This is a lot cheaper, but it's small, almost not as good as anything. I mean, as is, if you don't port it, just install this, it's gonna have a hard time exceeding the stock performance of a manifold, a stock manifold performance. But if it's ported like this, it's gonna get pretty decent. Let's see how far we can improve it. But ultimately, if you get an original Skunk2, a genuine Skunk2 Intake Manifold, bolting it on, it's gonna be a lot better than this. It'll actually kill a stock intake manifold. So the areas there, we're gonna round it off. We're trying not to punch a hole there, of course. Here, we put it on the vise again. We see we flared it up. Didn't get to record it when we were flaring it up, but as you can see, we improved the flaring now. Okay, now we go right side up again here. Another pass on 80 grit. This is still at 80 grit, guys. We will go with 120 a little later, but until now we're still trying to get a good shape of it, like consistently. Yeah, it's starting to look good, starting to look better. Of course, at this point, it's clean, so the lube is doing its job. Yes. All right. Okay, let me show you close. Oh yeah, as you can see, we flared it a little bit more. The flaring looks good now. Oh yeah, they're starting to look like a very, very good intake manifold. So yep, let's continue some more. And of course, we're gonna continue working on it to get all the rounded stuff or the entry. And here you can see we've rounded off the entry even better or even more. So now it's time for 120 grit. Here we start spraying it now to get the finish that we need. And you can see the shine is kind of dull, right? This is when you know the finish pretty good. It's smooth enough, but not too smooth to be epic shiny. This shows me exactly if the curves are consistent or good through and through. So yep, this is why a lot of times we go with 120 grit on the intake manifold for the finish. And of course the entry we changed it to an updated version of the finish, and now we clean it up, and here it is on the workbench all done. Yes, you can see now this is far, far, far from how it is right out of the box, the China copies. So this is a lot better. There's like night and day difference from the imported one. But however, if you look at it here, you can see the dividers. Wait, let's change here. Here, if you round this off, you might punch a hole from under. But the original ones from Skunk2, this is more round, but at the same time, the wall thickness is pretty good. So this, it's easy to make it even more perfect. As you can see on my old one, I had that all good on its end of my car, so I can show that. Now, in this area here, we're contemplating if we should weld it or, seal it with the sealant. And this step here, we can port match it with the 70 millimeter, but we don't smooth this out because you can smooth it out, yeah. But then if you think about it, from reverse, this is going to be a funnel or a velocity stack pushing outwards. So you're actually promoting reversion if that's the case. So we avoid smoothing it out, but we port it according to the throttle body diameter. Like we're going to run 70 millimeter here. So we're going to properly port it according to the bore, but that's it. Now smooth out the insides. So now start from the beginning. Here's this as cast. Halfway through, as you can see, it's getting better, and the finished product here is all smoothed out. The flare is good, consistent on this side here, and then halfway through, and then of course the finished product. Look at those flares; it's all good now. Yes, and this angle too. Then again here, when it's still smoothing it out, and then the finished product. Oh yeah, velocity stack right there, from the stock to the finished one, stock, finished one again. You can see the comparison, right? Here too, there. See, that's pretty far. So imagine if we're gonna port an original Skunk2, it's gonna be even way, way better. This one has improved a lot, but I can't say this is as good as the original. It might be close, but it won't surpass it. And if imagine you port the original one, it's gonna kill this like so bad. So it is pretty decent, and you can see the taper is good. This is pretty decent once you port it, even though it's cheaper, you still have to have it ported. But if the budget is not a problem, if you're going for a full performance, the original one and then having it ported is even perfect. Here, we left out the last inch before the flange. This way, when we port match it, we can clean it up perfectly. So we stop there, you can see. So this is gonna get smoothed out once we figure out the correct template for this onto the head that we're running, and we're gonna part match is gonna be really, really perfect. Now let's look at this angle here. The view from how the air takes it from the throttle. Yeah, let's wipe that off. Just look at that. That's a velocity stack, right? Yep. So this is how we fix it when we have to use a China copy. But like I said, the original one is gonna surpass this, and then if you have it ported, it's gonna be even more, even better. So, yep, that is a good choice versus the China copy, right? And also, we happen to have a video at the members only section right here that we did in the Skunk2 Intake Manifold on how we make sure it's all consistent in the entry, how we measure it with all the tools there, and say all the details are talked about on the members only. This way you can do it consistent like I do. So that's going to be interesting for those guys who actually want to take the next step. That is good. Then we also have a Type R porting, a proper how to do bulwark and pocket porting of a B16 to do a Type R, including all the other details that you need to know. Yep, and also we have this, the chamber work that we did on the B16A. And the cool thing with this is also, this is the actual head and engine that we did, that we actually dynoed. Here we talked about, there we have a dyno video in public, but this one we talk about the tuning in every single detail, including cam gear adjustments, the top member and higher. And also this D16, this socket we did, 151 wheel horsepower, all good power, full exhaust, street car. We talked about the tuning and also the details on how to improve it even more. We got about 18 to 19 videos in the members only section that's all about details on workshops, stuff that, we don't really usually share it in public, but those guys who want to check it, it's there. And also, if you want an original Skunk2 intake manifold, Staging Lanes is a good stuff for that. They're the source for original Skunk2. Even above 5,500 RPM performance shop, they have all the good stuff like Skunk2, Golden Eagle, Speed Factory parts. They sell and have all the original ones. And also downshift supply, because I get most of my cam gears, even NGK high tension wires, I get it from them and ERP rod bolts. They're reliable guys. All right. So yep. So if you want more technical stuff, of course, you can always just click here for more.